Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we have a real exciting one because I love doing these like reviews for films that just came out, which obviously just because they're so new and fresh, and it's always just fun seeing new films. And this one in particular, I've I talked about a little bit last week, and I just got back from the theater, which by the way saw it completely by myself, so I don't know if that's good for the box office opening weekend, but I still fucking love it. So I love getting to the theater by myself. It's rarely ever happens. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about Happy Death Day to You. So this is how I'm going to start doing my reviews for, especially for like recent films. I probably won't do this for like older films that I just assume everyone has seen. So I like talking about the film in like spoiler aspects, but I also know that some people will watch this, especially for a film that just came out. They'll might want to see the video, but they don't want to be spoiled. So at the front of these, I'm going to make sure to not say any spoilers and just say whether I think that it's worth seeing or not. So was Happy Death Day to You worth seeing? Abso-fucking-lutely. I thought that this was going to be one of those reviews where I'm much more negative because 20 minutes in, I was a little concerned. A little bit concerned. But they really, I don't know, they turn it around. They do a really good job with it, and I loved it. It's not as good as the first one. The first one was just so good, original, and just hit all the right notes that this one's a worthy follow-up, and that's all you can really ask for. Especially the twist in this is so worth it. That's when I was just like, yep, I'm on board. I like this. I'm on board for this whole everything about it. I am totally down. If you are looking for a film to go see for this Valentine's Day weekend, or you're just looking for a movie to see that, PG-13 slasher, because I know there's so many of you that want those. But this one actually pulls it off. It's fun. It's funny. In fact, I think it has a lot funnier moments than the first one. There's an entire scene that's like very over the top funny. But yeah. So I think that's all. God, I had to stop myself so many times from getting into more details. So yeah. Let's get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, stop watching now. Are they gone? Okay, now let's get into the fucking spoilers for this. So, the trailer really made it seem like it was going to be like the entire friend group that was dealing with the whole coming back, but they didn't do that, and I don't think they really fully explained why. What's his name? Ryan, I believe, the Asian friend who's doing the whole experiment. Which, by the way, this is the whole reason why 20 minutes in I wasn't sure how I was gonna like it, is because they try to explain the time loop. They actually explain it, and it isn't terrible. It's not. It's one of those things where I like the mystery in the first one, where you're like, you don't know, and they actually even bring up the fact that it seems like the time loop, like the tree thought it was because she needed to learn their lesson for her mother. Nope. Turns out it's some science experiment that Ryan and his buddies were doing for his thesis, and it created some loop. The thing that I don't really fully understand, which they might be setting up for a third film where this gets explained, but I didn't fully understand why, like the whole two Ryans thing, because they were trying to stop him from doing something, and I don't know. I thought it was a little convoluted, and I feel like it was just a device to be able to get Tree back to that day, which, I mean, whatever. It's fine. But I was kind of hoping it was going to be one of those things where they discover that, like, even if Ryan gets killed, he has to like, kill himself over and over to reset the day. But I did like that it's, like, different days. Like, his day was, they don't even really specify when that was, because I thought it was the next day, but then they kind of make it seem like it's like several weeks went by, so that was that was like confusing for me. But yeah, I just didn't get what they were trying to do. Ryan sends himself back to kill himself to stop doing this to stop this like experiment. I don't know. It didn't make a whole lot of sense because like Ryan from the future or alternate dimension Ryan should know that this is something for Tree. I don't know. The whole thing really confused me. Yeah. That was essentially just the beginning part, and then you get into Tree repeating the day, and that's really where this movie starts to shine. Honestly, it kind of made me realize that without Tree, which it's like weird to say, without Tree is the main character for those of you that are just watching this and haven't seen the first film, because Tree's a super weird name. Really made me realize that Tree she's the backbone of this series, which is odd because it's only the second one, but you know what I'm saying. She's the most interesting part, and especially because the first film, she's in every fucking scene. I'm trying to think of anything that she is not in. No, she's in everything. So the fact that we don't really spend the first 10 minutes with her, that's rough. It's pretty rough. But I did like that for Ryan's repeat day, it all happens much quicker because it's like we already know what's going on. So I'm glad that they didn't like draw it out and try and make it an act one ending. I enjoyed this a lot of this movie, especially once Tree showed up. And speaking of when Tree showed up, the best scene in the movie was when she comes back to Monday the 18th, when she comes back to that day for the first time, and she is fucking pissed. Like, I love that. It's so like her annoyance is so palpable, where she's just moving through the world just so pissed off, just meanest look on her face. She even they have the girl trying, the Greenpeace girl trying to get signatures, where Tree throws her thing away, where she's like, you didn't have to do that, something like that. She was like, I'm sorry. And then just gets right back to the angry face. Yeah, that scene was fantastic. There was obviously, since they're trying to explain such a unexplainable thing, it's not exactly what you want. It's just cooler without the explanation. Let's just be real. But it's still enjoyable. That's the main thing. That is 100% the main thing and the most important aspect. I really wish it was rated R. Why couldn't it have been rated R? There were so many little scenes that would have been cooler. It just a little bit more blood, a little bit more her jumping into the wood chipper. Come on. My whole theory about they can't show the violence because of the fact that we as the audience have to be sent right back to where she's waking up, because that's her perception. Except she goes into the fucking wood chipper face first. Her legs are flailing around. We've already seen the blood splatter, so we already know her front half went through, and we're seeing her legs go, where it's she's dead. The only way that I was able to bring any logic to this not being rated R was thrown out the window with that death. So that annoyed me just a little bit, and I probably wouldn't have even thought of it had I not made the other video. Which, by the way, check out the link below. I will link that video as long as I remember to. If I don't, then look at the last video I made. So my favorite aspect of this film was actually the alternate dimension, alternate universe aspect. That was so much cooler than I ever would have thought. Mainly because you're giving these characters different motivations. So the roommate who is behind the murders in the first film, she's not behind anything in this one. She's just a regular nice girl. That's awesome. That is so cool that, I don't know, it's almost like giving them a second chance, because you don't really get to know her that well. I really enjoyed that part of it. Then there's also some things that, going into this film, one thing that I was how are they going to make it so the first film isn't completely just null and void, like, and so you don't completely ruin the enjoyment of that because you know it's just going to be erased in the second. The way they did that was they sent Tree back to that spot, not from dying, but from a reaction of this thing that set the whole like loop off to begin with. Even when that happened, I'm like, oh, she got sent back, but she didn't die, so it must mean she can go back to that moment, which is cool. Because then you're like, okay, so then all that progress she made with... Fuck, I can't think of his name now. The guy who fucking has a thing on his tooth that I don't know why they did not shave down or why he hasn't gotten shaved down because he's a professional actor and it's so fucking in your face. But yeah, that guy, I'm glad that they didn't just completely like nullify all of that. And I also got a kick out of the fact that Tree's shitty sorority sister that is like runs the... Oh, I just realized this is a little tilted. Oh, sorry guys. But the sorority sister that is a bitch in the first one, I like that she's dating Tree's boyfriend from the other dimension. Yeah, it's much less confusing than I'm making it out to be. I just can't fucking explain things, says the writer. So I liked that there were just different things going on, even though it really seemed like Ryan was essentially doing the exact same thing, like between both dimensions. They probably should have made just like some subtle difference. Like he should have been dating the girl in one dimension and dating the guy scientist in the other. So just something subtle like that would have been enough to just like be able to differentiate and be like, oh, okay, so there is something different with him. But otherwise, there's nothing different with him. So it's weird that Tree's would-be boyfriend is dating Danielle. That's, again, it's just like more odd than anything. Oh, so there's a scene that happens near the end of the film that baffles me. Absolutely baffles me. The dean of students because he keeps making appearances, which, by the way, I love that actor. He's in a bunch of Duplass Brothers movies, and he's just fucking phenomenal. And I was so glad to see him pop up. But he shows up with these guards, like, right before their Tree and the gang, that's what I refer to them as. Right before they're about to set off the reaction to send Tree back to her dimension and stop the loop. Right before they're about to do that, they unnecessarily come in and take the device. Okay, I guess that's okay to happen. Then we get this scene that's very, very comedic with Danielle pretending she's blind and like beating the shit out of the dean of students. It's very, very much like has no bearing on the plot itself. They get the device back and it's right in the same spot. It is the epitome of if you were short on time, you could easily get rid of that scene. Fortunately, this is like just barely, I'm pretty sure it's like just barely 90 minutes. And so they didn't have the room to cut anything. And so the whole time, like when it happened, I'm like, wait, are they just taking it away? And then when it like didn't really become relevant to the plot, except we just got this funny scene, I'm like, wait, what? Like, what is the point of this? Why is this happening? Yeah, just found that very, very odd. But another thing I really liked was that for the alternate dimension thing was that Tree's mom is alive, and that's her big like what if, like, oh my god, and why she wants to stay in this other dimension or other universe, which I get, like, obviously that's very like big moment, but her like how they try to frame it is like the only reason she has to go back to her other life where her mom is dead is that she's with this guy, so she's doing it for him. But all I could think the whole time was like, wait, but she's not doing it for him. She's like, that's her life. She's in this other thing. She doesn't know the memory. She doesn't know any of it. This other world, that's her life. The things that happen, she has the memories of. That's the, like, all those experience made her into that Tree, the ones that's, like, in that universe. So it was weird that they didn't really frame it, like, that they kept framing it as, oh, she just has him to go back to. It's like, no, she has her life to go back to. What about this other Tree? What happened to her? Like, is she in Tree's universe? Where it's like, this other Tree's now having to deal with the death of her mom, which you already dealt with, so therefore you're much more prepared for. There's just a lot with it where I'm like, wait, what? My theory as the film was going on, because they had this other killer. Clearly that one serial killer from the first one had to have been let loose by someone, because it wasn't Lori. So I thought that there was going to be Tree. That there was going to be something where Tree was doing it, just like how Ryan had come into that universe and was trying to kill himself. Like, I just thought that was what they were going to go with. No, they went with the killer that the guy who everyone thought was the killer from the first film, the professor that Tree was like that he was cheating on his wife with Tree. The professor is the killer, which I fucking loved. And then I also loved that his wife appears fucking with a gun, shoots Lori, where it's like she's in on it too, because she has her own reputation to look after. I don't know. I love that because it's like in this alternate universe, it's essentially a different killer for the first film, which is that's so cool because outside of the roommate in the first film, he is the prime suspect. Like, whereas you're just like, yeah, it makes the most sense. And not only that, but the logic for this film is the logic that, like, you're using to make him the killer in the first film, if that makes any sense. It makes sense to me, but I don't know if I properly got that across. I don't know. That's so cool to me because that was my guess. Like, that was my guess in the first film. So, like, seeing it actually happen, and then they're like using essentially the same reasoning that you would use. Like, it's so cool. So cool. I like that. And yeah, there's a lot in this film to like, despite its PG-13 rating. But I'm telling you, rated R, that's what would send this movie up into the upper echelons. Yeah, it's just really unfortunate that they aren't like utilizing the like Blu-ray market to release an R/unrated version, because that would be fucking incredible. And now that we already know that the fucking because of the whole tree, the wood chopper scene, wood chipper. Fuck it, I've seen Fargo. It's a wood chipper. But I like that. I like the film in general, despite the fact that it should be rated R. It's still really fun, and yeah, well, I think her name's Jessica Roth, is the girl that plays Tree. She makes these films. Like, she's awesome. And it's evidenced by the fact that the most boring parts of this movie are the first 10 minutes, which aren't boring because you're still trying to figure out what's going on. But you just don't have that super likable lead, which you have in Tree, which is weird because she's like a total bitch in the first one until she becomes better. But yeah, I really like this movie, which you can tell by the length of this, because usually these don't go nearly as long. So yeah, I hope that you check out Happy Death Day to You, because I saw it in the theater by myself, which is not a good sign for the opening. But it was also a Wednesday at 12:15, so I get people not seeing it on Wednesday at 12:15. I don't think that's exactly the horror crowd. So I get it. But fingers crossed this does well, because I really liked it. A film as original as the first one, pulling off a sequel is no easy feat, and this one does it with flying colors. That's really all, though. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped that I was able to get this out and see it like on opening day, so that I was able to review it for you guys. We have something fun coming up. I will just tease that. March is going to have a whole themed month, and I already have like most of the videos done for it. So I'm real fucking excited. Really excited. It's going to become a regular thing, what I'm doing. I'm just going to tease it. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Hey guys, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And look, I even have a new ending finally. Holy crap, it took forever. And I'm just saying random stuff that I don't need to be saying. Oh well. And end.